Awesome. So we're gonna get to the secret formula. This is a formula that has like changed my entire life. I'm so excited to share it with you. This is like the number one thing to get out of this book. If you don't get anything else out of this book, out of this series, out of this training, this is the thing that'll cause an insane shift in your life. It's really crazy. So I'm gonna get over to the computer. I want to talk to you a little bit more about my background behind this, and then show you the insane power that this one simple secret formula has on your life. All right, sweet. So before I discovered the secret formula, some of you guys know my story. Some of you guys don't know my story. I'm gonna go through it very briefly because it's really important up to this point to understand how powerful this one secret formula really is. So I was, starting high school, and my parents, they recently were separated, and and then divorced, and then, that happening, it kind of made me like stand up for myself and say, hey, look, it's me here, and my mom and my brother, and, I kind of have to like make some stuff happen. So going into high school, I was like super fat. I mean, it was ridiculous. Because my parents used to have a restaurant, and like we would just eat like everything. It was really bad. And then tons of sugar, which I talk more about in the whole general members area. So really cool content over there waiting for you guys, which is awesome. But it was a serious health problem for me, and it just caused me to gain a ton of weight. So in freshman year, I lost like 50 plus pounds, and just like totally transformed like myself, my body, my confidence, everything about me shifted when I had this transformation. It was just crazy because before I was just this really fat kid who was like had nothing going for him, and then I was able to shift to this cool guy with like six pack. It was awesome. It was so great, and I could use that as a tool to leverage my own confidence, leverage my personal growth and development. Because before that, I didn't really have anything going for me, but that moment right there was this stark shift. If I have this like timeline, there was this very distinct shift. It was like pre and then post having control over my body, right? Because if you don't have control of your body, I don't think it's so difficult to have control over your life. So it's like no control here means that I really had no control over what I was doing. I would go day to day to school and stuff like that, but in all reality, I didn't have a direction. I didn't have a sense of purpose. I didn't have goals. I didn't have momentum. I didn't have really anything because I didn't have control. And you have to have control to be able to bring things to where they want to go. So no control over my body means no control over my life. So I got control over my body, and that's a really important thing. And if you need help getting control of your body, go over to the general members area, and there's a ton of awesome content to help you do that, because that is seriously important. So that's why I wanted to include it in the just general membership area, which is some powerful stuff. So you'll get access to that content. That content should be just in the general area, and you'll see it there. So after that transformation, I came into this new era of my life where now I had control over my body. And when I had control over my body, what it did was something really crazy. So the first thing that happened was I got my first job, right? This was really big for me because I was not very socialized. I didn't have any social skills. I was very lackluster in the field of talking to people and having solid conversation, solid personality. They call it socialization. It's like developing yourself, finding your sense of self, and being able to understand others. Super important concept, right? Sense of self. Being able to spell also helps. But then also like, communicating. Communicating is huge with others. That was really big. So I started working at Subway, and I worked there for about a year. And that was really important for me because it let me work with people, let me get in front of people, let me talk to people. And the reason I was able to do that is because this weight loss, this transformation gave me the confidence, gave me, I'd say like confidence, then drive, desire, all these, words, whatever you call it, it pushed me to get there. And that was, I'd say, still, there's this very, very interesting period of my life where I didn't have this book. I didn't understand the content in this book. And I read this book. And so my life, I didn't have what I'm about to share with you, which is the secret formula. I didn't have the secret formula. So I'm just going to etch this off in our timeline right here. And we're going to say this is when I discovered the secret formula. And then this is working at Subway, right? So working at Subway, it was really, really, really powerful time in my life. I was able to talk to people, I was able to grow with people, I was able to meet so many people and then talk and then grow myself, communicate with coworkers, train new employees. Insane. I think I have a video on YouTube and I might actually just link that video below or put it in the other general membership area. Really, really powerful content in there about why it's so ridiculously important to just have any kind of minimum wage food service, a minimum wage retail job, any kind of job where you're actually getting in front of people and developing yourself, not for the cash, but for the personal growth, especially, earlier in your life. And I'm sure, if you've had a job, you can attest to this. It really develops you and you get to understand, what it's like to be in the marketplace, what it's like to work in the marketplace and how to grow in that regard. It's really, really, really powerful content. And just a great experience to grow into, other aspects of your life, whatever you want to do. So this was really, really, really good. It was working with a ton of people and socialization. And then also it's like teamwork, right? Because I'm working with a ton of other people, and then training employees, which is awesome, which is like teaching, right? Training others. Then also I learned a little bit about management, which was super important, right? Because our manager, I talk about this more in the podcast, talk about more other places, but very simply, management was pretty harsh. They were pretty harsh. And it was tough to work with, right? Sometimes. So because of that, I started to realize the importance of like team leadership, development, growth, all those other aspects that actually create the perfect environment for growth and the environment needed to facilitate, the development of a project, to get everyone together. That was ridiculously important, and all that came from that experience. Really, really amazing experience. I can't recommend it enough that you just get some kind of job and then sort of stick to it for a solid amount of time, right? I mean, you can't quit after like 2 weeks and then say, oh, I had a job, because, you're not, first of all, you're not committing to yourself, right? If you can't commit to a minimum wage job for a couple of months at a minimum, how are you going to be able to commit to your long-term goals? I mean, it's just, you need to be able to commit to other people before you can commit to yourself, because it's a lot more difficult. It's so much easier, right? If I have a scheduled appointment with somebody and I say, I'm going to meet you for lunch, we're going to talk about this, we're going to do this, we're going to blah, blah, blah. That's really easy to go to. When you step into the space of, setting your own goals through the secret formula, you have to be able to commit to yourself and say, look, I'm going to do this at this time, and that's what's going to happen. There's no one else to hold me accountable except for myself, and I'm going to use that as fuel to get it done. That's a very, very, very powerful position to be in, and it's a position that requires a lot of self-discipline. And I wouldn't worry too much if you think you don't have good self-discipline. A really powerful thing we're going to explore throughout this area, throughout all this training content, is the power of habit, the power of agenda, the power of journal. So don't sweat it if that's a tougher thing for you, but it's very powerful. We can get that very, very easily by creating systems and practices. And we'll talk about that more throughout this membership area. But one of the biggest things that can help you get that, and it's something that we'll cover in a bunch of other videos, especially in the general area, is a daily journal. So no sweat on that right now. But I'll definitely help you guys. We'll learn more about the daily journal as we continue to develop. That's a really powerful tool. But that's not necessarily the tool I started with. When I was working at Subway, and then this would be like stock, It wasn't necessarily, I didn't have a daily journal at that time. It was all drive, all determination, because I hadn't realized the secret formula yet. So let's transition to this. So I worked there for a year, and then while I was working there, I spent like months and months and months just learning about personal finance and investing, right? And a lot of people that I was working with, they were leaving, they were quitting, and it was sad because these were the people I worked with all the time, people I trained, people. It was awesome experience to be around these people, and they were so instrumental in my social growth and development. It's awesome, amazing people. So when they started leaving because management was kind of mean to them, it made people sad. I was like, dang, it sucks, because I really wanted to be with them, but they were gone, and eventually it was like I was working open to close, like alone for the weekends, which kind of sucked because there was just like no one there to help. So just because the way management was treating a lot of people, which it's just nothing you can do about it. So anyway, I finished that, and before I left, because people were starting to leave, so I started researching the stock market. I went to Google. I was like, what are stocks? How do you stock? How do you invest, or stuff like that? And so I keep learning for months and months and months. I would just spend every waking hour learning about how to invest, because it was really, really, tough to invest, tough to learn to invest, So because of that, it was a lot of content to go through. There wasn't like one solid book that was everything's there, which I, have hopefully solved now, which I'm happy about. Really, really great. So happy that you guys have that in your hands, which is just awesome stuff. But when I was doing it, there wasn't anything like that. So I spent a whole ton of time learning about stocks, right? So I spent months and months and months researching stocks. And then what happened was really interesting is, like, after everything started to come to an end, I started to realize that this is something really cool, and I would like to pursue this and go 100%. And I also realized that my learning, my development, my education at Subway, it was kind of teetering off. It wasn't really there anymore because everyone had left. And then, I was just talking with clients, which is cool, really cool sandwich people. But when they came in, it was like the same every day pretty much. There was no more growth to be had. I was having the same conversations, learning the same lessons, which is still very powerful. But once you get to a certain point, it just kind of tapers off. So after it started tapering off, I made the commitment to myself. I went all in, and I said, look, I am going to quit my job and start trading stocks full time. So that's what I did. I quit Subway, and when I quit Subway, I started trading stocks after school full time. It was awesome experience. Started learning about swing trading, started mastering that technical analysis, mastering that pattern development, and that was really, really critical in growing and scaling more into the current trading that I do, the current analysis that I work through. All of those instrumental parts of my development, they all stem from going all in on stocks. And then I was making my first trades, which means that I had my first wins, and then of course first losses. And those wins and losses, those are really instrumental in actually creating, the background and all the principles and experience and knowledge that I've distilled into 9 to Noon. A lot of it came through this initial testing, this initial market research, these initial trades where I would, gamble up. I had so poor diversification. It was really bad. And those are a lot of principles and a lot of disciplines that I've now translated into like chapter 35 of the book, stuff like that. That all comes from, experience. Wow, that was a P. Experience in the marketplace. Really, really important concept to cover, because that experience is actually what gives you the wisdom to go out and do whatever you want to do and crush it, which is super important. So now that I had that background, I was trading stocks 9 to Noon. Pretty much school ended a couple months later after I was just doing swing trading, and then I just started day trading every day, which was awesome. Made more in like 2 weeks than I made the entire last year at Subway, which was really, really crazy. Just a tremendous experience, amazing, eye-opening experience about the power of financial markets. It changed my life My life's never been the same since that first couple weeks of day trading. So that was a really, really big time, really, really big spot that showed me the insane power of financial markets and using technical analysis with 9 to noon stocks. It's just awesome, awesome stuff. So that happens, and then I was trading throughout the summer. Then school starts to approach, and obviously I couldn't really trade during school, and so I started transitioning into cryptocurrencies because you can't trade 9 to noon during second period. But at the same time, this was right around, this is when I started transitioning into crypto. And I guess I'll talk more about my development story throughout. And I'm sure some of you guys have probably heard it if you watch some of my content, which is some really powerful stuff. And we'll get more into it throughout this training series, and also throughout the general membership area, throughout all this stuff. But the point was, start getting into crypto, started getting into blockchain tech, which is awesome. It's what I do now. I love it. It's amazing. But what's really important is during this summer, I read a book that changed my life. It was called Think and Grow Rich. And then I got to this page, and this is the page that you guys should be on now. Page 22 of this version of it, which is the one with Arthur Pell. It's page 22, and I found this six-step secret formula, and that's when almost everything in my life started to change. So I'm gonna break down exactly what happened and how I got to that, and then I'm gonna give you guys the formula. We're gonna apply it. It's gonna be amazing. You're gonna love it. Okay? So let's go away. Let's get some of this stuff out of the way, because I want to leave this timeline here just to put everything in perspective. So we're gonna see how much of this we can erase with our big fat eraser. Hopefully, large eraser. Oh, perfect. Okay, cool. And in this time period, I'll just tell you a little bit more while I'm doing this. Essentially what I did was I started investigating and learning about cryptocurrencies and how they work, because my background, right, was in computers. I built my first computer the year prior. So when I started to learn a little bit more about cryptocurrencies, what they were, how they work, I had a pretty decent understanding of, fundamentally what these companies, what these cryptocurrencies, what these coins were all doing, because my background, it was in building computers, so I sort of understood at a fundamental level how the consensus mechanisms worked and how all these companies or these coins actually function to create the value that they created in the marketplace for investors, right? So that was pretty instrumental in getting into cryptocurrencies, and especially starting to invest in them and trade them, because I had a fundamental understanding of what it is they were doing, and that allowed me to go in and research them a whole bunch and learn a ton about these individual companies and what they were doing, and how to invest in them, and then how to master the cryptocurrency market. A lot of things that I'll probably cover for you guys over in the general membership area, because cryptocurrency is really amazing market, and it's a pretty significant chunk of my personal investments, and they're really cool technology. So if it fits with you, we'll talk about more in the general membership area. If it makes sense to go invest in those, they're really powerful financial instruments. And at the time, they were just an amazing financial vehicle. I talk a ton more about them in my podcast. One of the earlier episodes was about the insane growth that happened in a very short 6-month time period, right around here, when cryptocurrencies just exploded. It was insane. It was years and years, decades of financial growth in a matter of months. It was ridiculous. It was crazy. So I'll link the podcast below, and also I'll give you guys a little bit of a note on which episode it was where I talked about that, because that was really powerful. And then also I have YouTube videos on that, but and you've probably seen those. I don't know. Most people have, but if you haven't, there's some awesome YouTube videos. So I'll show the channel link or whatever below, and you can learn more about the cryptocurrency growth. But after the crash of 2017, there was some pretty, ridiculous things that were changing, and that's when I started to get into actually applying blockchain technologies through Monerods to facilitate decentralized user compute and essentially just monetization of online content through blockchain technologies. And now we've got that running as sort of a national blockchain advertising firm. So I'm super excited to see how that works. For those of you who don't know, I'll deviate for just a moment because it kind of ties into this story with Think and Grow Rich, and also this secret formula, which is super important. The idea behind that company, which again came after a ton of cryptocurrency investing, cryptocurrency mining, trading, and then asset management in that space with the financials and blockchain. I started to get a team together, and then we started developing this product where essentially you have this pop-up that comes up on a website and it says, hey, do you want to remove ads? And for free. And then it's got like a blurb about what we do, and then it's like, hey, it's free. And then it's like yeah or no. And if they push yes, it's pretty sweet. What happens? And then if they push no, obviously they just see ads. The thing was, I was trading all these cryptocurrencies in class, and I would go on all these websites, and these websites, they had a ton of just ads everywhere. So I was trying to research these currencies, and I was trying to understand what was the best ones to buy, looking at technical analysis, looking at all of the financial asset analysis factors that I talk about in 9 to Noon, which is very, very, very powerful. And so I decided, hey, this could be a really, really powerful way to monetize content without ads, right? I was thinking, what if I could actually mine cryptocurrency with my computer instead of looking at ads. So that's kind of just one sweet idea that came from that. And now what we do is we integrate this pop-up onto our publishers' websites. So they'll all come together, and there'll be a ton of publishers, and then they all have our pop-up. And then if the user people that watch the content say yes, it's super, super fun with what they do. So then what happened is we'd have all these publishers, they'd have all their stuff on their sites, which is awesome. They would have all of our pop-ups, and then when users came to their websites to view their content, to read their articles, our general target market right now are online newspaper websites, so like an online equivalent of a newspaper. So if there's a newspaper, we go to their online site, we'll implement our pop-up. Because with text-based articles, usually, you'll use about 1/3 of your computer to actually load the article, and then 2/3 of the computer is just unused. So we use that unused portion and mine cryptocurrency with the unused portion for the website owner using blockchain technologies. With our cross-device cryptocurrency miner, just loads in the browser, no download or anything needed. And then all the people that visit the website, they'll load it and they'll say, hey, I want to remove ads, and then they get to remove ads, which is awesome because the ads are super freaking annoying. They view all their content while actually generating a very, very small amount of cryptocurrency for the owner of the website. So it'll go over to the owner of the website, and ads are usually pretty small compensation per viewer. So it creates a small amount of currency, but it adds up over time, and it adds up with a lot of users to actually increase profits overall, which is really, really cool stuff. So the idea for that company, was basically I just didn't like ads. And so it came out of that, and it came out of stocks, and it came out of trading, and it came out of blockchain, and it came out of crypto. But one thing that enabled all of that was secret formula. The secret formula is the one thing that my background was cool, but my background, you can kind of create whatever you want in the marketplace. But no matter what you create, you're always going to be limited by sort of your long-term goals, your long-term beliefs, your long-term desires, and the overarching ideas and messages that you have with what you do. So with Monero ads, that all came, it all stemmed from my overarching long-term goal, like my decade goal by 30, right? Which is super, super big. And the way I got to that was by following the secret formula, and that's what I'm gonna share with you guys today. Very, very, very powerful content right there. So I read this book, and then I discovered the secret formula. And after I discovered it, that's sort of when I started working and developing and building the team, forming ads. So yeah, now you know the story behind that. Now you know how that works, which is awesome. So here we go, all right? It's 6 steps. It's on page 22 of this book. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through the 6 steps. I'm gonna tell you how I've applied them. Then we're gonna expand on the insights created by those and use them to have just an insane impact on your life, which is awesome. So here we go, and you can follow along if you want. Just make sure you grab a copy. You should have gotten it in the earlier session, so yeah, maybe there's a link below this video, I don't know. It's really powerful book. You definitely want to grab a copy. Step 1, fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire. It's not sufficient merely to say, I want plenty of money. Be as definite as to the amount. There's a psychological reason for definiteness, which we will describe in the subsequent chapter. I can personally tell you, following this for like the past 2, 3 years now, I mean, this definite, you need to have the exact amount of money you desire. For me, I got to this amount through a couple of ways, and then you stick with it, right? So this is the exact amount of money that you desire by a deadline. Next step, we're gonna give you, one of the next steps, we'll give you a deadline. So remember, this is relative money. This is money given a deadline. So you'll set a deadline for this, it'll make more sense. The way I got to this number after I considered my deadline, which we'll set in just a minute, was by looking at, like, you know, if I was gonna have everything I wanted, how much would it cost for everything I can think of? Everything I desire. And then you kind of add a little bit because of inflation. I multiplied mine by about 2 because I'll tell you what, I want to be aggressive. I want to get the top quality. So I usually just kind of like multiply that by 2. So for you, maybe getting everything you desire, you can think about it maybe on a monthly plan. You know, how much is it gonna cost to, you know, have a mortgage on a house, car, whatever. I like to think of things in net worth, which is important, but it's also important to balance the two. So you got to understand, you know, if you can take monthly payments, you can have financial freedom a lot easier than having a massive net worth. The really big idea for this is actually creating long-term wealth. And wealth is like this insane concept of money that doesn't go away. But not even that, but like money that can't go away. So with like assets, right? You think about maybe owning a portfolio that pays you a 2, 3, 4% dividend every year, or you withdraw 4% every year because of the 4% rule, which we talk about in 9 to noon, where the average returns 9%, 7% after inflation conservatively. Withdraw 4% for your entire life, you'll be good. If you think about having so much money that the passive income or the wealth that you create through your activities of investments can cover every expense you can think of, that's when you start to create generational wealth, where you're accruing money faster than you can spend it, right? Money faster than you can spend it. So you gotta find that number for you, you know, like plan out, okay, maybe I want, I really want a Tesla Roadster, so I would write that down. I also really like planes and helicopters, so I'd probably get my plane, probably get a helicopter. Super big things for me. And then an awesome house, awesome apartment, awesome area, whatever it is you want. I kind of need a house to hold, you know, the plane and the helicopter. So you plan out, you know, visualize it, right? I want you guys to draw it. I've drawn my dream house 3 times. Draw out exactly what you want for each of these items. So for the car, for the plane, for the helicopter, for the house, draw out, you know, what do you want your house to look like? Maybe you want it to be in like a mountainside. Maybe you want it to be super modern. And if that's you, draw it, make it happen. Because if you can start to visualize this, you can start to believe in yourself and conceive that this is a possibility, that this is something that can happen, right? Because that's a really, really huge, huge part, and we'll talk about it more throughout this series, is belief of, you know, this is a really bad drawing of a house, but like, you have to believe wholeheartedly that, you know, you can get exactly what you desire. This is, you know, the car that you're gonna get, you know, and then constantly have reminders in your future of like what it is that you want and how you're gonna get it through the rest of this secret formula, right? Through that, that's where you'll develop this insane sense of belief in yourself that like, yes, I can totally see myself having this money. I have utter belief that whatever this amount that I desire is, I have that amount in the future and whatever the deadline, whatever the date is. And once you can do that, you're gonna create this insane ability to actually get that very specific amount. You should be money conscious. Money conscious means that you're gonna be able to generate more cash, you're gonna generate more wealth. People that are money conscious are people with money. You gotta be money conscious, you gotta think about the money if you wanna have it. It's like having, you know, a relationship, right? If you want your girlfriend to love you, if you wanna have a really good relationship, you have to focus on your girlfriend, right? You wouldn't just, you know, never go on a date with someone and expect them to love you like you're the most amazing person ever. It's the same thing with money. You can't just ignore money and expect it to flourish and come to you. You have to put the work in, you have to be conscious of it, right? You have to focus on it. And where attention flows, results follow, right? If you focus on cash every single day, you're gonna create some cash. A man who wakes up before dawn 360 days of a year never fails to become wealthy. It all comes from focus on the exact amount of money you desire. Take that amount, write it down, given our deadline, which we'll develop in just a minute, but think of like everything you could possibly want. And also write impact. That's a really big thing for me. I think, you know, impact. I think to myself, what amount of money would indicate to me that I've made a big impact on a lot of people? One of my biggest, most passionate goals that comes directly from this is to create real savings and retirements for masses of people. I think what kind of, you know, monetary value would signify that impact on the world. So think about, you know, what's the monetary value of the impact that you want to have? And then add that in, factor that into the exact amount of money you want, and then write down a very specific number. Exactly what you want. Excuse me. That specificity, we'll talk about it a little bit more later. That's the huge baseline for going through this content and actually getting this done, which is super powerful. That is step one. Get it done. Pause this video. Do whatever you need. Maybe watch the rest of this video so you understand a little more about the timeline part. But once you understand these 6 steps, or if you just read this book, it's page 22. Page 22. Get that going, and you're gonna have this formula. It's gonna be amazing. It'll change your life. It's awesome stuff. Okay, so we have our specific number. We're gonna move on to step 2, the exact amount of money that you desire. You have to be able to feel yourself saying, I desire this much money, because that's how you're gonna feel to yourself that yes, you own this. This is happening. You can make it work because you desire. You deserve, you have it, you have the confidence, you have the feeling internally. We'll get more into this, but you're gonna have this feeling internally that this is your money. And that's when you achieve it. That's when it comes to you. All right, really powerful stuff here. Maybe watch the rest of these tips and then come back. This single concept, this single secret formula is the most insane impact that you can have out of this entire training, and everything else is tangent on this. I think that's a word, so we'll see. So, really powerful thing. Keep that number in your mind. Keep it in your mind. We're gonna come back to it very soon. Or write it down. Write it down on paper. Oh my God. Please. People that write their things, their goals down on paper are just ridiculously more likely to achieve them than people that only think about them. Write it down on paper. Please. Because that's gonna make it real for you. Once you can make it real, you can start to actually, work to make it happen. Because it's real to you, because you wrote it down, then that means that it can be a real thing. Don't just think about it. Definitely write it down. Really, really important. All right, cool. So now we'll go to step 2. Step 2, determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. There is no such reality as something for nothing. Very, very important concept here. What will you give for the money? This is like a high 10,000 foot view of the work that you'll do. Very, very powerful concept here. We're looking at exactly what you want to get done in the marketplace, and the overarching thing that you want to do. For me, it's financial education, empowering people financially, opening up financial markets, decentralizing asset management, all these very specific things that I want to do to create. It all ties back to this one statement: real savings and retirements for masses of people. So that would be like my very, very overarching view of the work I want to do, which is super, that's like your thing. That's your defining thing. So what's your thing, right? And it doesn't have to be world changing. It's got to be something for you that would change your world. Something for you that would give you the ability to create the exact amount of money that you desire, and fulfill that internal change, that internal belief of yourself. It's your thing, right? This is established by you. This is nobody else's. This is all you, and you use it to really get through the desire for riches, transmuting them into the financial equivalent. So just think about, for me, when I set my mission statement, right, real savings and retirements, when I got to that, what I did was I thought about my past, right? So I looked on my timeline at what I was doing, right around here before I discovered the secret formula. And I thought, okay, well, look, I've seen, the immeasurable power of financial markets, and I've seen how amazing, trading is, investing, and also financial literacy. That was really messy. But just the impact that that's had on my life, and just how much it changed me. I really wish I knew so much of this when I was at Subway. I would have made so much more money just with any kind of investing. It would just change literacy, because if I had known about any of this stuff when I was working there, it was a really, really hot year in the market. I would have easily just doubled the portfolio. It would have been amazing. But I didn't, and that's okay. That's why it's important to get this information out there, because so many people just have no clue. And so many people, they're working day to day, they're working paycheck to paycheck, just trading time for money, with no sense of how to actually make, money work for them. And that's a really big problem. That's why I wrote 9 to Noon. That's why you guys are here, right? Is to get money to work for you. And then I think we'll talk a whole lot more about that concept over in the general members area, where there's a ton of amazing content and great stuff to develop that mindset and that training for you, so that you have the confidence and the total belief that can happen for you. Very, very powerful stuff. That'll be over in the general area. But it's all about getting the money to work for you. Because once you can scale, once you can get your income, your passive income, your assets to actually exceed your norm of income, you can pretty much, if you want, just leave your job and still have that income there, and then you can work on, you know, whatever you want. You can stay there and continue to create wealth. It all just depends on what you're passionate about and what your thing is, right? You want to work towards your thing. Everything should be working towards your thing. So what I did is I looked at my background and I said I want my thing to be real savings and retirements for masses of people. I wrote that down. You gotta write this stuff down. Write these steps down. Write your answers down. This is where you establish your thing. So hey, pause this video, do whatever you need to do. Maybe read through this book. It's pretty much what I just told you. But it's very, very, very important to get this step down, to get your thing down, and understand in reflection of the amount of money you desire, what could you do to create the amount of value it would take to make that amount of money? And what would you like to do, right? Because you got to make something fun so that it, you know, doesn't feel like a whole bunch of work. Super, super important thing to consider right there. And that's going to be really the basis of your entire, you know, career, joy, whatever it is that you do. It all stems from getting your thing done so that you know exactly where you want to be, exactly what you want to do. You know, this is really, really, really important part here. So get this down, and then we'll go on to step 3. Okay, sounds fair? You guys have paused if you need to pause, which is awesome. I'm gonna get some of this stuff out of here, and we will go to step 3. Step 2 is really cool, and it has such a profound, like, long-lasting impact on the work you'll do, and it's what pushes me, you know, every day to really go hard, because once you guys establish these long-term goals, it's really, really powerful to see the results that they'll have in your life, because now all of a sudden, all the decisions that you make, all the actions that you take, everything is relative to your long-term goals. Everything is based on the exact desire that you have and how you can actualize that desire to take it from a mental image to a actual physical manifestation. And that's really, really, really powerful. So there you go. All right, so step 3, halfway there, almost there. Establish a definite date when you intend to possess the money you desire. In other words, establish a deadline. This is really, really important. You got to be realistic here, but you also want to push yourself. You don't want to make it too easy. And also, the deadline that you set, you got to stick with it. You don't change it. You have to stick with it, because if you set a deadline, you can make it happen. The amount of time that you establish and the amount of time that you set for any specific task, right? That's how long it's going to take. The amount of time you set aside, equals the amount of time it takes. That's a really, really powerful concept. I spent like 6, 7, 8 months after teaching personal finance classes locally to really hone in on my material. Once I had those classes taught, once I started to see students get results and really have the huge urge to write 9 to noon, you know, I set a deadline for myself that I was going to get it written, you know, all the writing done by Christmas Eve. And I could have picked any deadline I wanted. I could have picked 2 years out. I could have picked anything. But when I picked Christmas Eve, it put the pressure on me every day, right? I was going super, super hard. I was like, okay, look, I've got this deadline. This deadline is Christmas Eve. Now, this is a medium short-term goal. This is not the kind of goal you should be writing with Think and Grow Rich. The goal you're writing here is more like a 10-year goal, like a decade goal, or more. This is a huge, at least if you desire any sizable amount of money, it's going to take an internal shift in your being to get there. It's going to take an internal change in yourself. It's going to take years to grow into the person you want to be. Right now, I am nowhere near the person I need to be to get to that overarching long-term goal. And I know that I need to grow myself and I need to adapt as a person to get there. This long-term goal should have such significant monetary worth that it will take you a significant amount of time to get there as a person, because you just need to work to get there. It's very, 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 very important that you have an internal shift as you go on your journey to this goal. So now that you've got that down, right? So this is just an example, right? This Christmas Eve deadline, you know, I was writing every single day. I would wake up at 4, I would write till like 6, maybe 6:15 if I was lucky. And then I would go to school, and then I would have usually cross country, and then I would get home and I would write for like 2 more hours. And then go to bed. When cross country ended, I would just use this time. This was like November, December. It started to get really cold, so cross country ended. I would just write, and that was all I would do. And then during school, you know, if I had extra time, I would research/write. And you know, essentially this one goal would overtake everything. It was all focused on getting to this deadline and making it happen, because I knew that I was under pressure. Like, I had to get this writing done or it wasn't going to happen. There was nobody else that was going to do it. So you just had to make it work. So after that, you know, weekends it would be like, you know, 15 hours a day, right? So I would do like 30 hours a weekend. And that was, you know, my really, really big crunch time. That was really, really powerful. Really, really great. I got a ton of stuff done. And it was all because I realized that, look, if I want to meet this Christmas Eve deadline, I got to take this seriously. Because there was, you know, other aspects of my life, you know, college applications, obviously school or like homework, and then, you know, social events and stuff like that. You know, you have to make it work. You have to put in the effort, because I understood, look, this has got to get done by Christmas Eve. There's no other option. And that kind of pressure, that kind of deadline, that deadline is the most powerful thing to getting your goals done, because it gives you a very, very disciplined and set time span. And once you have that set time span, you know exactly how much time you can afford, how much time you can risk, how much time you can put out there. It's all based on that single deadline, because you know that it will get done. If you guys remember from yesterday, Plato o Pluma, you know, letter gold. Excuse me. That mentality applies here. That same idea set is right in this deadline mentality of it has to happen by this deadline or the world's going to end. That's a very, very powerful mindset, and that will push you to achieve your goals. For me, it pushed me. I finished writing 9 to noon at like 10:30, 11 o'clock on Christmas Eve, and you will work to that last minute to freaking get it done. And then I know when I was publishing the book, I had another deadline for publishing, and getting it out on the date that obviously it got published on. That was really big for me, mostly because there was a lot of colleges that like actually wanted that crap done, so that they would be like, okay, cool. So there was a really big deadline there. I mean, I spent probably like 2 all-nighters getting that book out, getting it sent off to Amazon, sent to the publisher, all the title assets, the photography, everything that needed to get done. Spent 8 hours getting a title photo, which was that cover photo is no easy task. That was a lot of photography to get. I'm super passionate about that, so that was really cool. So like, you will push yourself one way or another to get it done by that deadline. It's amazing what deadlines will do. They'll change your life if you completely and utterly believe in them more than anything else. That's a very, very powerful skill to get the money you desire, to understand the reasoning behind the money you desire, to achieve the reasoning behind the money you desire. All is forced on by this deadline. So think very, very, very carefully about what you put here, because you can't change what you put here. This is serious, especially if you're thinking of a very, very powerful, overarching long-term goal. We've seen examples of people using this system to create, you know, Thomas Edison, the light bulb, Henry Ford, the freaking assembly line. Like, create tons and tons of cars, change the way people transport, change the way people light their homes. So many insane business moguls, and Hill talks about it in this book. Every single person, they all use this system. It all comes down to a deadline. These people change the world based on deadlines. So I want you to understand the insane significance of setting a deadline that's going to push you and give you the time you need, because whatever time you give yourself, that's how long it'll take, and it'll happen in that time frame. So I don't want you guys to go crazy. You know, you don't need, most you probably don't need 50 years to do something. I wish I heard this advice when I was starting. Take where you are, take maybe the deadline that you're thinking about, okay, you guys understand, you know how much money you want. Most of you guys, hopefully you'll know exactly, you know, what you want to do to acquire that money, what you're passionate about. Passion, huge, huge, huge. You deadline you're thinking about for what you're passionate about to get the money you want. Take that deadline and, you know, just cut it in half. And then ask yourself, is that doable? Is that something that's possible? If it is, maybe use that. If it's not, okay, ask yourself what's reasonable. Because look, I'll tell you guys what, you can make it happen. It all comes down to the confidence you have in yourself, your team, your ideas, your growth, your belief, yourself. It's all you. It's all your team, it's all the people you work with. If you can get everyone together on a set deadline, it will happen. So be very, very strategic about setting this deadline, and understand that if you guys are taking this seriously and you guys are really going to apply this secret formula and this deadline will change your life. It's insane. So with that said, got all that stuff, which is awesome. You guys are killer. I'm going to move on to step number 4. It's really cool. This deadline, it's also once you guys complete step number 4, yeah, that's when you start to realize the importance of this deadline, because in just a minute you'll understand that you're going to know what you're doing. And once you know what you're doing and you know the time frame you have to do what you do, to do what you want to do, once you understand that time frame, it's really an insanely powerful thing, because now every single day you're thinking, and you'll follow the steps that we'll talk about in just a moment to get to that position, but you'll get to this place where you're thinking about, you know, how am I going to get to my goal? How am I going to make it by my deadline? And it's going to push you to do massive, massive amounts of, take massive action in whatever you do, and it all stems from the pressure that deadline's going to put on you. Not, you know, crazy pressure, but pressure makes diamonds, and it's really, really powerful. It'll change life once you start to establish and completely believe in and absorb yourself in personally created drive and pressure, where you're holding yourself accountable. That'll be a massive shift in the way that you perplex and the way that you grow, because it's all you. The responsibility of success is on you. Okay, cool. So, step 4. Create a definite plan for carrying out your desire, and begin at once, whether you're ready or not, to put this plan into action. Whew, wow. This is powerful. So, earlier in step 2, we established what you were going to give in return for the money to the marketplace. That would be maybe like a 1, 2, 3 sentence statement. This definite plan for me is a paragraph. It might be longer, it might be about the same length for you. This is a longer, very, very, very specific plan. Specific action plan. What you're going to create. Okay? This is huge, because given your deadline, this is the frame of what you want to get done. This is the immediate plan for what you want to bring into the marketplace, right? And this isn't like, you know, just your next company or your next startup. This is your overarching long-term action plan, exactly what you want to carry out your desire. the thing that's going to actually create the amount of wealth that you desire, the exact specific amount of money by your deadline, and facilitate that by pursuing your passions, which you've written down and you've established for what you want to do in step 2 in return for the money that you desire. This is pretty much the gold of this whole thing, is that you have to know exactly what you want, because the universe, marketplace, whatever, it's just you have to have specific desires or they won't happen. So this specific plan is creating the exact actions to fulfill your desire. So maybe if you want to create something, you would very specifically describe exactly what you'll create. And what that's going to do is, now you understand, look, this is what's got to happen. I'm going to make it happen. Once I make it happen, we're going to crush it. It's going to be an amazing thing together. And because whether or not you put it into action, you want to know exactly what you want to do in the marketplace, exactly what you desire. And that's going to get you to this amazing, amazing point where you have total mental clarity. That's the biggest thing that this is going to do for you, is give you total mental clarity on the course of action to take from the day to day. Because once you have that long-term goal, then you can break it down. So maybe you have a 10-year goal, right? You take your 10-year goal, you take your decade goal, right? Decade goal to your 5-year goal. What would you need to do to be on track, right? Then you take that, turn it into a 2-year goal. Then you take that, you turn it into a 1-year goal. And then you're establishing this very, very specific and set plan of action to actually get you to where you want to be. Then you turn 1 year into 6 months. Then you turn 6 months into 1 month. Then maybe like a week, right? 1 week. Then you can use that to figure out exactly what you should do today, right now, to get exactly where you want, to level up through your sequencing, to get closer and closer and closer to your long-term goal. It's an extremely, extremely powerful, powerful concept, because it lets you know exactly what you want to do. This is your plan, this is your idea, this is essentially you. This plan is you, and it's the actions that you'll take to fulfill the creation of the future you that has the money you desire, that fulfills the deliveries and actually gives exactly what you desire into the marketplace, so that you can achieve that by your deadline. This is this is like the thing, right? This is your thing, and this takes a lot of thought, this takes a lot of effort. This is based on step 2. This is based on what you want to give into the marketplace based on step 2, and then you expand on step 2 and you plan on exactly what you're going to do to actually deliver the value that you want into the marketplace. Extremely, extremely powerful concept here. This is the stuff that will change everything, because now you know what to do. And once you know what to do, and you know why you're doing it, for the people you're doing it for, the deadline you have to do it, and the cash, the value you want to create, that's when you start to actually go and produce and make amazing, amazing results in the marketplace. And it's all based on having a specific action plan, creating a definite plan for carrying out your desire and beginning it at once. Very, very, very powerful stuff here. We're going to go through all of this together at the end. Pause this for a moment, and especially you make sure you do all the steps before this. Write it down, write everything down, and then once you've got that, go and go on to the next step. And also remember that this overarching goal is really what you're looking for to change, whatever aspect of your life, of other people's lives, whatever impact you want to have, it's all going to stem from this this long-term goal. This is really the goal that'll guide you for years and years and years until that deadline that you set, which is super, super, super important. It all comes from actually having this one goal. I mean, if people ask me, what do I want to do? It all comes down to what this goal is, right? Because this goal is, your future. This goal is you, and it'll separate you from the tons and tons and tons and tons of people throughout the world that just, they don't know what they're doing. They're going from job to job, paycheck to paycheck. They don't have a purpose. They don't feel like they understand themselves. It all comes down to having this one long-term goal that drives all the actions and decisions that you make in day-to-day life. It's insanely powerful. So, with that said, let's go on to step 5. Step 5, write out a clear, concise statement of the amount of money you intend to acquire. Name the time limit for its acquisition. State what you intend to give in return for the money, and describe clearly the plan through which you intend to accumulate it. So for this step, really, it's just taking the first 4 steps, bringing them together, and making it happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write out a template for you guys. I want you guys to follow this template, get out a piece of paper. I do write my goals on my phone just because it's easier to bring around, but at the beginning, it all starts on paper, because when you put pen to paper, that's when you start to actually create the real future that you desire for your life, which is just insanely powerful. Creates a sense of commitment to yourself and to what you do, because you have the ability to actually go write it down and make it happen. Take action, follow this plan, and write it down. So I've said this every day for 2 days, 2 times a day for the past couple of years, so I know it by heart. I desire, and then however much money you desire. That's the first part. Next part. And then you'll state what you want to do. So, I will blah, blah, blah. In exchange for the money I desire. I intend to possess, right? This is your deadline. The money I desire by whatever your date is. Then here's your really, really awesome definite plan. I will carry out my desire by ... whatever your definite plan is. And that's usually a longer statement. It'll take a little bit longer to write down, a little bit longer to read, because it's very, very specific and applicable, and obviously you can implement it into the marketplace because it has value in and of itself. And that's your clear, concise statement. That's the formula. That's what we're going to use in step 6. It's what you're going to use essentially for your whole life until you get your deadline. But it just combines all the aspects that we've done and we've created. So do yourself a favor, pause this video if you haven't already followed steps 1 to 4, created in parts of this statement. If you have created the parts of this statement, write down in this order, right? This is step 5, but you would write down like this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3, this is step 4. Then you put them all together, bring them all together for step 5. Okay, and then once you have them all together, you can unpause this video, and we're going to move on to step 6. Really, really, really powerful stuff here. Once you establish this plan, this written plan, you're going to be above 99 so much of the population that just don't have goals, that don't write them down, that don't actually carry out their desires. Because what you're doing is you're separating yourself from the directionless, out of sense people, and you're creating this it's almost like a legacy, but it's your own legacy that you're gonna live up to, right? Because now you know, okay, this is how much I want, this is how I'm gonna get it, this is why I wanna get it, what I'm gonna do to get it. You know your deadlines, you know your reasoning, you know what you're gonna give to the marketplace. And now you're gonna have this insane clarity for everything you do. It's all based around these long-term goals. Really powerful. And it all ties together in step 6. This is the step where you need to take action. This is the step where it all starts to come together. Step 6. Read your written statement aloud twice daily, once just before retiring at night, and once after rising in the morning. As you read, see and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money. Guys, this is so powerful. This is the implementation. So you just created your document. You just created your goal statement. It's about 4, parts, and then it's solid paragraph, 2 paragraphs, something like that. You've created it. Now what you're gonna do when you go to bed, right? This is what I do every single day for years and years. Go to sleep. I wake up and I stand up and I read my goals. Read goal statement, right? And then from going to bed, same thing. Read goal statements twice a day. So once in the morning and then once at night. And then also, I think there's more information about this in the general members area, but meditation is huge for me. It's changed my life. It's just ridiculously powerful in changing your mental state and the way that you function. So I'll meditate after I read my goals. And that's more about that in the general members area. Super powerful content there. So read the goal statement twice a day. Guys, I'm telling you, this is going to be amazing. This will change your life because it makes you think about it every day. You become money oriented. You become goal oriented. You become centered around this internal flow of exactly what you want, exactly what you want to do. And once you do that, you start to focus. And like I said earlier, guys, where you focus on, attention flows. What you put your attention on starts to actually happen. It starts to create results in the marketplace. This is so powerful. This is the implementation. It'll change your life. It's insane. It's crazy amazing. So once you have it done, you got your goal statement, read it twice a day for bed. Now here's the really important part, because these words are in all caps, which is why I really recommend you guys grab this book so that you know what I'm talking about here. You want to see, you want to feel, you want to believe, in your goals and yourself. You want to have such a total and complete conviction in what you're saying twice a day, the statement that you're reading, that all of a sudden you convince yourself that you're already in possession of the money. Even if you don't have it, even if it's years and years away, you want to convince yourself that you have the money already. And that's insanely powerful. Because now you have a total, complete conviction and belief in everything you're doing, and a burning desire that you will truly acquire this amount of capital, which is ridiculously powerful. A couple of alternative ways to do this, instead of saying I desire or I will carry out my desire, you can use statements like I have, future pacing yourself, I will, I do, I ... whatever, like it's already happened, and to put yourself in that future mindset of I've already done this, I do this, this is me, this is mine, I deserve this, because you've written the goal down, because you're pursuing the goal constantly, because you're always going on it. That's a very powerful way to shift, I would recommend start with the goal setting secret formula that we've started with right now. It's what I've been following for years and years and years. And then once that starts to work for you, once you get in the habit of doing this every day, then maybe start to work around, maybe test out thinking about statements like I have, I will, I do. At the beginning for me, I always had to read my statement twice a day, but then after a couple of months, something really interesting happened. Is it just started to get ingrained in part of me. It started to become who I was. And then, like, my action started shifting. My entire life started aligning itself with my long-term goal. So my whole world changed to take the perspective of somebody who would go out and do what I was doing for my long-term goal. And then, I started to memorize it. And once I memorized it, I didn't have to read it anymore at night. It just suddenly became part of me. And everything I did, I could see it was all in alignment with that long-term goal. I'm telling you guys, apply this, it will change your life. It's insane. It's ridiculous. This is the one thing that I just wish everyone had. So, once you have that done, you're gonna create this insane sense of drive and perseverance and dedication in your life. It's ridiculous. This session, this video, please, please, please apply it. It will change your life, guarantee it. And using these future pacing, right? This would be like future pacing statements will give you that inherent belief that what you're doing is actually going to happen, and it'll change your life. It's amazing. Really, really, really powerful, powerful, powerful stuff. So there's your implementation. There's your goal setting. That is step 6 of the secret formula, and it all comes down to implementation and actually doing it, because it's crazy. We're going to elaborate on this goal setting throughout the rest of this and throughout the rest of the book. It's all based on this fundamental principle of establishing this burning desire and then using the secret formula to turn it into a reality. After I discovered the secret formula, I realized, it's a pretty capital intensive thing that I want to do. It's pretty huge. So I started Monero just because it made sense to start with something that was actually possible to start with without a bajillion dollars. And then I started using that to scale up. And then since then, I've gone more into, I'm all about financial education. So that's when I started teaching local classes, stock classes. And then obviously throughout all this time, I was very, very enthusiastically swing trading. And I mean, honestly, I'm still doing it because it's so much fun. And I'm doing it probably right after this video, to be honest, at 9 to noon trading. And I've been doing those forever. I just love them. I don't know. It's just amazing. It's so much fun. So teaching local stock classes and then writing, obviously, the book. It's all in alignment with me personally overcoming the educational barrier to entry into finance for so many people. And then using that to overcome the fundamental barrier to entry into finance for so many people. And that's a huge global goal, something I'm working on for years and years and years in my life. And I'm so passionate about it every single day because I read this goal statement twice a day. That goal statement puts me in the mindset that this is happening. This is what's happening. This has happened. It reinvigorates, right? It brings you into this insane mental space where what you have is a reality, where everything you do happens because of you. You bring it there, you grow there, and you create this insane sense of accomplishment and achievement in everything that you do, that all of a sudden you're out there and you're absolutely crushing it, all because you follow the secret formula. I'm telling you guys, the secret formula, before I had it, I had no sense of direction in my life. This time period, I had no control. I had no direction. I had a little bit more control once I took over, once I actually started to understand what I wanted to do with my body. Once I was able to control my body, I was able to actually go out and be productive in the marketplace. Got a job, started learning about stocks. That was important, but everything changed once I discovered the secret formula. Oh, that does not work. Let's see, where's another color? Yeah, green. Once I discovered the secret formula, everything changed because now I had this overarching long-term goal to follow, and it's something I'll use for the rest of my life, or at least till I'm done with it by the deadline. And it'll have just this insane influence because now I have control over my body, but moreover, you have control over your mind. And that's the power behind this, is it lets you control your mind. It lets you control your thoughts, lets you control your destiny. It lets you control the exact actions that you manifest into your life. It all comes down to this goal statement twice a day. It's ridiculous, guys. I'm telling you. So change your life. It's insane the amount of power and clarity that comes into your life the instant that you realize this is the one thing that I want to do. It's just crazy. I talked a lot today about breaking down your goals to create those shorter term, medium term goals. That's a very, very powerful concept. I'm going to link a book review video below to The One Thing. You guys can watch that. I highly recommend you get The One Thing. That book, it highly elaborates on breaking down long-term goals, and it's super influential and significant. I wish I had it a long time ago because it'll absolutely change the way that you look at daily productivity and growth. It's ridiculously powerful. I recommend that book extremely. It's a very, you need that tool. That's an amazing tool. So I'll link that below, and the video. I'd check that out for sure. You want to get in on that, and you also want to have your secret formula completed. I want you guys to take a break, pause, don't move on yet, write out your secret formula, and then, before you move on, go to bed tonight and read out your goals before you go to bed, and read out your goals when you wake up. Do that for a couple of weeks, because I'll tell you what, it'll change your life once you can turn that into a habit. It's crazy. Power habit, everything there is amazing. And then once you have it set in stone, then you read The One Thing, then you establish. You need the one thing, right, to break it down into those daily rituals, those daily successes. It all comes down to being able to focus every single action that you take and every single mindset shift you have in yourself, aligning that with your long-term goal. It's really powerful stuff, guys. That's the secret formula. Secret formula changed my life. It gives you a conviction and a belief that you read, see, feel, and completely believe you are in possession of that money. It's right there. And it's just a separation of time, effort, energy, and action that's going to get you from where you are to exactly where you want to be. It all comes from this one long-term goal, this secret formula to success. This will change your life. Thank you guys so much. I really hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in the next module. Thank you.